the Hoosier Triplets, a trio of Indiana authors road tripping through the romance genre and sharing what we love and learn. Welcome to our podcast.
All right, so we're going to DNF it?
Yep.
DNF. All right.
When quitting is good for you. No when enough is enough.
No, you can't make me give up my wine.
I'm not going to make you cry this time. I'll start. So, when I started this business, DNF did not finish was a huge whispered thing. I mean, that was probably the worst thing you could say about a book was I DNF'd it. I couldn't stand it. I mean, and that was like whispered because everybody read the book through. I don't. I try to give it to like 30%. But now as the years have passed, I cut back. And now if they have introduced more than 12 characters in the first chapter, I don't. I'm done. If there are typos, more than 4 in the first chapter, done. If I am just not feeling it in the first 2 chapters, I'm done. I may not delete it permanently, but I don't keep reading. I got better things to read or I certainly hope I have better things to read in my to be read pile. So yeah, I'm a big DNF fan now.
I will sometimes set it aside because if it's not like a, the editing or the writing sucks or whatever, and I'm just not feeling it. I'm like, maybe it's me. So I will set it off to the side and then like read something that hopefully, cleanses the palate and then come back to it just to give it a second shot. But I usually find that even then I'm like, yeah, still not into it. And not that there's anything wrong with the book itself or the writing. It's just not hitting anything with me.
I just did that with a book. It was a freebie, part of the Stuff Your e-reader day, and it was clear it's like a Sex and the City. You have like the 4 friends and like they're all very hyper successful and they meet for brunch and they all have their cosmos, blah blah blah. And I just was sort of like, I know where this is going. I mean, the first chapter I knew where this was going. She's met the guy she hated in high school. I put it aside. Maybe sometime I'll feel like, I want to go back and read something like that. But I just knew at the time, I'm like, been there, done that. Have the T-shirt and the Manalos.
Well, books can't hit, oh God, I just spelled myself.
Okay, so anyway.
Books can hit different.
In the bloopers.
Where's the spit rag?
You're sitting too close to me. I can't continue. Okay.
Thanks, Mom.
Yes, I'm Cindy Tanner, and these are the days of my life. Because I've had books that I haven't liked, and I've quit reading and gone back to it a later time and really really enjoyed. But I mean, if I'm not in it, if I'm not invested in it at the end of the first chapter, I'll usually skim ahead a few chapters and then I'll read the last chapter. But I mean, as an author, I know how much work goes into a book and how much time, but I have a lot of things that take up my time. So reading is really my enjoyment, my pleasure time. So if I'm not enjoying the book, I'm not going to read it. And I don't feel bad about it anymore. I used to, and I used to force myself to read it, but then I would find myself hating the book. So, and then that would take me out of wanting to try anything else by that author. And I'm an author that writes in multiple genres. We all are. Some authors can kill it in one genre, but not in another. And I feel like I always like the underdog. So sometimes with the really, really popular authors, I like the little offshoot genre that they write in that's not popular, so they don't continue to write in. And then I'm like, I want more of these books, but I'm sure that they don't sell for you, but you should because I will buy them. Me,
you're one fan. No, I've been going through and maybe because I've been reading a lot more since my hip surgery, doing a lot more DNF. And I used to also be one who was like, no, I paid good money for it. I'm going to read it all the way through.
I'm going to find some redeeming feature.
Or just, whatever, get my money's worth. But these days I'm like, I don't feel guilty for not finishing a book. I don't go, and although I did have one where what caused me to stop reading it, I was like that they crossed a line, I felt, and so I was like this close to reviewing it and telling him this is why I didn't finish it, but then I'm like, no, not gonna do that. I'm just not gonna.
You didn't want to review it under your government name?
I could.
You know, I feel strongly.
I would review it, but I'm just like, because then of course I read the reviews and and I'm like, everybody else loves it, and is it really worth my time just to pitch a fit? Oh, I did. That's why you guys got all the messages from me. I can't buy this book. But I find that I do have some lines that using sex as a weapon, which is what this one did. As revenge. It was like revenge sex. I'm like, from the love interest. No, that's a hard pass for me. And then the last few that I've done that with have a lot of them have just, it's like, can we get to the story? Like I'm 30% in. One, I was like third or fourth chapter and they still haven't met the love interest. And it's like, and I'm reading and I'm like, you could have totally gotten rid of chapter 1. I'm like, chapter 2 and chapter 3 are a bunch of world building shit that I don't need because I want to get to, the meet cute or whatever. So then my author critic comes out that keeps me from enjoying it. So that's one that I've skipped ahead a couple chapters and I'm like, I'm going to give it a couple more chapters and then I'm probably not going to finish it.
I don't know, and maybe it's just me and the books I choose, but I'm finding in some of the TikTok famous books, I find them not to be fully fleshed out, and I find them several top selling. The whodunit or the big blow up, I saw it coming when that character was introduced. I mean, I knew who it was. There was no mystery. And then in one of these books, at the end, there's pegging, and
At the end.
At the end,
Pegging, what's that?
Google it. But
Google image it.
I mean, none of the sex up to there had been even any
Spicy at all?
No, I mean, nothing like that. I mean, yes, she admitted at one point she liked anal, but she also said it in a way more to titillate him. And then I just thought, and they were using the pegging as a power thing at the end, and her over him, of course. And I don't know, it left me with a weird feeling like, maybe we should have built up to that or hinted that would be something he would be open to, because he was like crawled right up and spread. I mean, there was like, like no talky, no, hey, and I just thought it was a very odd tag on at the end. And,
It's actually a really good sales pitch for the book, because now I'm like, well, maybe.
Well, you have it in your bag, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I just thought, am finding that the recent books I've read from the TikTok famous, that it seems like there's like 5 beats and they're gonna hit them, and I'm not saying they're bad, they're good beats, but there's not a lot of filler getting you from point A to B to C.
So that natural progression of character and story tends to be a little lacking.
Or they're like, oh my God, I'm at 68,000 words and this is only supposed to be a 75,000 word book. Big glass scene.
Better go to pegging.
That'll cover it all.
The big finish. Yeah. Well, so I've read a couple books and I finished them, but they were long ass books. I mean, one was like 600 pages. And it was Kindle, but I was like, I have been reading forever and I'm only at 6%. What the heck? And like, they didn't even kiss until 60%, which that's like what? 550 pages into the story, they're finally kissing.
Was that apprentice to the villain?
No, it wasn't. But it was. And I'm just like, this is, and so I'm reading it and I'm like, the writing could have been tighter. And there's a lot of stuff you could have just cut out because and I think it was another one I was complaining to you guys, and I think one of you mentioned, maybe it's for KU, and I'm like, yes, it's on KU. And another one I read that it wasn't horrible, it wasn't awesome, but it was also a long book, and I'm like, again, the writing could have been tighter, and I'm like, it's a KU book. So I'm just like, is that a thing that, if you're writing in KU, the longer the better?
Eyebrow raise.
Well, I know, like, in KU really cracked down on that, but there was a time when, like, the stuffing the pages or adding, like like a preview for the next book, which was really like 3/4 of the next book, just
in the triple spacing and all of that.
There's always going to be a few bad apples that try to cheat the system.
And this wasn't any of that. It was just like, I mean, they were okay books. They just could have used, they could have been cut down. Because I'm like, a 600-page book printed, that's an expensive book. And I'm like, it definitely wouldn't be worth that price tag. But, anyway, so that was that's been like my recent experience. I'm just like, And then I also had I had a book that was like, it was perfectly fine, but the story arc just was kind of, and I'm like, it was like walking me through the relationship, and I'm like, where's the crisis? And the crisis was like oh no, we're okay.
So am I the only one that may like temporarily DNF a book because it's not what I'm wanting to read? Sometimes you get in the rut or you get in the slump, and I'm like, I'm not really, it's kind of like I need to do like a little like book flight, like do I want, monster romance or to do like a little tasting or especially with stuff for Kindle Day.
Maybe I'm not in the mood, so I'll.
Well, when I do that, like when I find one and I know I'm not in the mood, then I usually go back and like reread one of the series that I loved. Like I just reread all of Lauren Dane's Goddess with the Blade series because a new book just came out, and I had forgotten a lot of the book before it. And at one point I was even like, did I not read this book? I'm sure. But anyway, but then that's sort of how I cleanse my palate. I go back and reread like a whole series, which sometimes involves a lot of time.
Okay, this is a tangent warning. Am I the only one that will sometimes try to find a movie or a TV show and like I know the plot exactly, and then I'm like searching, and then it occurs to me that it was a book that I've read and not an actual movie or a TV show?
I don't watch that many movies. I mean, honestly, like newer I watch old movies. Newer movies, I can't tell you the last new movie I've watched.
I think COVID was really hard on the movie industry, and I think it is bouncing back in ways, but I
can't sit still and focus. I don't know. I don't know.
It does take effort to like sit for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and and even if you're watching it on TV and you got commercials, even more for an unknown movie.
Although sometimes I will pick apart movies because I'm like, oh, that's lazy writing. I know what's going to happen. And then it drives my husband crazy. And I'm like, oh, I kind of craft stories for a living. So there are some beats that I recognize.
We just watched 2 episodes of the new series. Oh my God, I think it's on ABC. She's like a high functioning genius. It's called like, I don't know, like High Potential or something.
She's got kids or something.
Yeah. Okay, so the ad it looks dumb.
Is she like the cleaner and the crime scenes? Yes.
Oh, okay. It's good, and the storytelling is really tight, and they've already shown you the overreaching for this season. But I gotta admit, I was impressed, and I was impressed on how like she explained who she was, where she was, and how things fell into place, and there wasn't a lot of. It was showing not a lot of telling, and I mean, it seemed the pieces fell well in place. I mean, I was happy, and like Mike goes, "Do you want to watch the next one?" I'm like, yeah, I want to see what happens, what they do. So good, good for TV writers because there's been a lot of shit.
Yeah, but it's so nice to latch onto a series that you're like, oh my gosh, this is well written. I want to come back. I want to continue the story. I care about the characters. Yeah.
And I'm not really like the baby fan, but that baby is so big and it is so cute. I mean, the baby is adorable. They don't have a dog, but they have a baby.
Says a lot.
The baby is adorable, and he's huge, and like no one mentions like that's a heavy baby. I mean,
it's a 15-year-old. He got the part.
It's like Vern Troyer, that's a big. Yeah, watch it.
Mini-me.
Watch it. Comments below. Okay, so don't be a quitter, or I say be a quitter. It's okay.
It's okay to circle back.
Well, so when Cindy mentioned this this topic, I'm like, you mean our author career? When do we know when to quit our author career? What?
I'm too stubborn. I'd never know when to quit.
It's like it's like gambling. It's like being in Vegas going max bet. It's like that one more, just one more. I'm gonna get it this next time. I'm gonna get this next hand. It's gonna win.
Books.
Wait, and you're gonna do 4 next year?
So you're almost to the end.
You got well. I mean, I don't know.
Are you retiring? Are you planning on retiring from, or you just don't know that you have it in you to do more?
A little of both, and then my people, my support, my vendors, my support people. That's some of that's up in the air. So I'm just I don't know. I think personally it's healthy that I am looking at an end. Like me retire. What would I do?
Mow the yard.
It would hurt.
I think you guys should maybe sell your wood chipper.
Good idea. Yes.
I would be a fantastic serial killer.
Yeah.
So then what would be the next, have you thought about what you would do after that? Like just do consultations? Or?
What do you mean? I thought I would just harass the people that drive past my house.
There you go.
Throw things
Get
at
off my
them.
yard.
Yeah, get off my yard. No, you cannot sit under my tree and drink water, bicyclist. Do you think those Tour de France guys do that? Not everyone gets a blue ribbon at my house.
Oh my gosh, I don't, now I'm going to cry again.
No, I don't know.
Sure,
That's
I'm
just
not sure I can.
that's just sort of what I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a feeling of the day.
Well, I mean, it's because the future of your, your editor and stuff like that are kind of up in the air. That was how I felt last year going into this year, knowing that I had my 2 hip surgeries. Well, not even knowing I had my 2 hip surgeries, but just the chronic pain of the hips that led to the surgeries. I like my creativity.
Yep. When you're in pain,
yeah,
it's hard.
It just went away, and I was like, I have to get this last dragon book out, and after that, I got nothing. So I can understand why, knowing that the relationships that you depend on for your author career are kind of.
Can I be the old woman? Can't I be like the
No,
that
because you're
sit
meant
in
to
my
write
rocking
us.
chair and
talking
be
about?
the old woman?
Do you want to be the old woman?
I would be an
bug Cindy to publish.
I would be an awesome old woman. No, I don't know, but I don't know. I think 6 feels like a good number right now. Who knows? I'd lie.
Make it 8.
Could be 10.
It could change. I mean,
Yeah.
it took you like 5 years if I'm going to slow down before you actually.
Yeah.
That is the truth. Maybe I'm just saying no more than 6 a year.
There you go.
Well, and that's also, I mean, honestly, you didn't know that your Novus pack was going to take off like it
Right.
did. So who knows
Right.
what could happen.
Yeah, you never know what the future's going to hold. I kind of got into this as I wanted to build my platform for like this to be like my retirement. I just thought it would take longer. I mean, I still have a lot to do and a lot of building.
It's
and
a lot of work to keep building.
yeah, and a lot of stories. And now I laugh and I'm like, retire and write? Like
What's
that? This is
that?
just too much work to do with that. But I enjoy
Well,
the
and
ride.
you mean you're not like, maybe I could retire so I could spend more time writing. Like that's, that's me. I'm like, maybe I could quit my job and spend more time writing. Well, when we were at RAGT and had the post party with the other authors, there were a couple who were like, we have been pushing and pushing and pushing this career, and is it a bad thing to kind of take your foot off the pedal for a little bit? And
Yes and no. I mean,
yeah, like do we, of course these are 7-figure authors, so they're like, is 6 figures okay? Yeah, 6 figures is okay.
It's something that isn't talked about. We always think of success as being at like the top of the mountain, and then once you get there, you've peaked, you're good, it's fine. But you want to maintaining that. I mean, what you use to get there might not be what is going to keep you there. Some of that is going to be timing, luck, things that are just out of your control.
and we may go, oh yeah, they can live on 6 figures, but maybe they can't, because once you've been living on 7,
Yeah.
that's a big cut.
Yeah, especially if you're using some of that to pay for PAs.
Well, your family, you employ your family.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, we think, you think, oh my gosh, 6-7 figure, which that's a lot. That's an awesome goal. But then there's also like the overhead for that. Like it's not, you're not suddenly a millionaire.
They're not putting 6 and 7 in their pocket. If they're
Yeah.
indie, they're spending probably at least half of that.
Yeah, I mean,
out.
a lot of that is going in. It's just.
Well, and I think it's funny because using the climbing the mountain analogy isn't even really the right analogy, because so once you get to the peak of success that you have subscribed for yourself, like say 6 or 7 figures, you still have to keep pedaling to keep that figure going, and the path isn't a straight shot. It's still mountain, it's still
you're gonna have
curvy
peaks
and
valleys.
dips and valleys.
Well, and I mean, okay, let's be 100. People that 2 years ago said they were 6 or 7 figures, they probably still aren't today because it's fickle, it's cyclical, and I mean, I mean, we know, you can tell by there's certain tells, how well a book's selling. I'm not saying your whole backlist doesn't bolster you, it does, but because once you start making the height of the money, it's really hard to stay there.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing, the ability for your book to earn. I mean, obviously, I think as authors, we count like on our release, we are hoping to have a good release. We plan and try to give ourselves like the best success on release day. But I mean, it's kind of an infinite that it's going to keep, you're going to keep earning. You've got it in your backlist. Like you have to do stuff to promote it.
But yeah, so it's hard. So don't give up on yourself, but give up on bad books.
Yeah. Or books that just don't fit you in the moment.
Yeah.
Right. And don't feel bad.
Yeah. Are you a DNF'er? Do you want to be a quitter with us? Comment, like, follow, share.